Wild and wacky world of wigs. Welcome to the world of wigs. Throughout record history, people have had an obsession with hair, from ancient Egyptian culture to modern civilization. Wigs have played an important role in this obsession. People have worn wigs for many reasons, ranging from personal vanity to a display of one's social standing. What's a wig? Wigs come in many styles, such as full wigs to two-piece and extensions. Full wigs, also called periwigs or perwigs, cover the entire top and sides of the hair down to the neck. Two-piece only cover part of the head, from the forehead to the top of the crown, and from one ear to another. With the wider zone hair exposed at the back of the head. Extensions are sections of hair or fiber that are attached to an existing wig or natural hair with pins, clips, or sometimes glue to create a fuller or longer look. Wigs can be made of many different materials: wool, goat or horsehair, straw or grasses, and even certain kinds of plastic such as nylon. They also come in every color of the rainbow. For centuries, wigs made from human hair were frequently the most desired because they looked the most natural. It often took between 6 and 10 heads of human hair to make one wig. Those wigs were also expensive than the other options, which meant they were only very wealthy people could afford them. Today, many people prefer nylon wigs because they are less expensive and easier to take care of while still looking like real hair. What's in a wig? Until the 1700s, wigs are often made of a specific individual, which made them so expensive that most people could not afford them. The tight-fitting mesh cap with the fabric base was usually made to fit the head. The hair or other material were then looped over the mesh, tied off, and secured the base fabric in beeswax, resin, or glue. Once secured to the base, the hair could be styled according to the fashion of the times. In the 1700s, wigs that could fit anyone became popular. These wigs had ribbon at the edge of the cap and could be tightened to secure it to the wearer's head. Because these wigs could fit many different sizes of heads, the prices dropped and more people could afford them. The first wigs. The oldest known wigs date back to 1400 BC in Egypt. Many people in Egypt wore wigs to look like their gods and to cover bald spots, which were considered unattractive. A full head of hair meant that a person was strong and healthy. The Egyptians believed that their gods had fancy, thick braided hair, so they made wigs in a similar style. Even back then, the lengths varied. Some wigs were neck length, some shoulder length, and others fell to the waist. But all of them were thick, with curls and braids. Some people added extensions to the wig to make them even fuller. The hairs of all of these wigs were often set with a light coating of beeswax, much like modern hairspray, so it could hold its shape. In Egypt, people at every level of society wore wigs. The king and his family wore wigs made of human hair and decorated with ivory and silver ornaments, and hairstylists who maintained their wigs. The wealthy classes could afford wigs made up of wool or goat hair, while poor people could only afford straw wigs. Banishing baldness in Greece and Rome. Wealthy people in two later world empires also wore false hair. The noblemen of ancient Greece and Rome wore complicated wigs with multiple braids and curls pinned on the top of their heads to keep larger curls in place. The women used hairpins, more braids, and more ornate the style, the higher their social status. volume, women wore wigs made of human hair, and some used extensions to create even more volume. The preferred hair colors were blonde and red. Some of the Roman elite even kept blonde and red hair Germanic slaves on hand in order to get a ready supply of hair. Other wigs and extensions. The wealthy men and women in Rome wore wigs to hide their bald spots, which were considered unattractive. On rare occasions, a few women emperors wore wigs to disguise their appearance so they could go outside the palace and mingle with people on the street without being recognized. These disguises helped them get an idea of what everyday people really thought of them. Fashionable French hair. From the end of Roman Empire through the next several centuries, wigs use fell out of fashion. Then, in the early 17th century, King Louis VIII, eighth ruler of France, brought wigs back into fashion when he began to lose his hair. Only 23 years old, he worried that the people in the royal court would not respect them if they thought he was going bald. To hide his hair loss, he wore wigs that looked like his natural hairstyle. They had a part in the middle and well-groomed hair smoothed over the scalp and falling on the shoulders in soft waves. Many noblemen wanted to look like their king in order to be considered fashionable, so they began to wear wigs in similar styles. During this time period, it was mainly men who wore full wigs. Some men added extensions to their wig to make them even fuller and thicker. Some people who were losing their hair also wore wigs. Women who had a full head of hair wore extensions and embellished with their styles, known as coiffures. Wigs go over the top. As clothing fashions at the royal court began more and more elaborate, the need of fancier hairstyles also grew, which meant an increased demand of wigs and extensions. Women would style their head, both real and false, over a frame or pillow on the head to create shapes. Then the style was set with large pig fat, and the whole thing was powered with starch to set the style. The starch was sometimes scented with lavender or orange blossom. Certain styles were 3 feet tall, even before hats and ornaments were added. Some women had elaborate model ships mounted on their heads into their hairstyles. These styles were so complicated to create that women would leave them for up to 3 months without combing or washing their head. The lard used to set these hairstyles would become rancid over time and attract cockroaches, mice, and in some cases rats that would build nests in their head. Women carried a long stick with a claw on the end so they could scratch inside the head without disturbing their hairstyle. By the 18th century, wigs were used by almost everyone in Western Europe. At least everyone who was involved in the royal courts and certain professions. Wigs became an integral part of the uniform, significant that the wearer was a doctor, barrister, lawyer, judge, or a member of the clergy or nobility. The wigs were often made of horsehair, which was stiff and thick, but also cheaper than human hair. Even when large curled powered wigs fell out of fashion, people in these professions continue to wear them in public. To this day, judges and barristers in the United Kingdom court system wear wigs as part of the uniform. Topis came into fashion during the 18th century too. While still ornate, curled, and powered, they had one major advance. advantage. They were much cooler and lighter. Full wigs were extremely hot to wear, as well as quite heavy. In 1795, the English government imposed a tax on both wigs and wig powder. The tax only lasted a few years, but raised a lot of money for the government. However, the tax also caused the end of the wig-wearing trend in Britain. By the 1850s, many people in Europe had stopped wearing wigs. Common people often saw them as an unnecessary luxury that only the aristocracy could afford. Some enterprising people collected old wigs and sold them in streets in for some small sums of money. People bought them to use as floor mops or polishing rags. Hair today, gone tomorrow. As technology improves in the 20th century, people began to create wigs out of nylon threads, which would resemble real human hair but cost quite a bit less. Nylon also allowed a larger color section. Wigs could be any color of the rainbow, which gave people access to an even greater variety of looks and locks. Today, people continue to wear wigs for many reasons. They wear them to appear fashionable and stylish or simply change their appearance. People also who are bald or losing their hair wear wigs to boost self-esteem. Performers such as clowns or actors might wear wigs as part of their costumes. Styles have changed depending on the fashion of the time, but whether they are long or short, fancy or plain, wigs have played an important role in the human history. Who knows what the next great fashionable hair will be?